Servus, ich bin der Ferdinand von Munich MMA und willkommen zu unserer 4. Podcast-Episode. Vielen Dank fürs Reinhören. Nachdem wir letzten Monat den Einstieg ins BJJ thematisiert haben, geht es in dieser Episode um den Einstieg ins Muay Thai. Da ich davon wirklich relativ wenig Ahnung habe, wird es auch eine garantiert lehrreiche Stunde für mich werden. Als Gast habe ich mir dazu the one and only Ana McSweeney eingeladen. Anna, schön, dass du da bist. Erzähl doch mal ganz kurz von dir und deiner Kampfsportgeschichte.
I started when I was 19. I always wanted to do Muay Thai, but I wasn't allowed as a kid because it was too violent, apparently. So then when I left home, there was a gym at the bottom of my road, so I started there, and I was always sparring, like, pretty much straight away. Then I was in Germany for a while, and I decided to go on holiday to Thailand just to train, and then I ended up fighting there. And then whilst I was there, I got offered a sponsorship, so I was like, why not? So I stayed there for like 3 years altogether, and then was just fighting, so just training and fighting. You fight around once or twice a month when you're there, it's quite normal. And then I'm back in Germany, and I had my pro K1 fight, and I've also transitioned to MMA, slowly but surely, yeah.
Thank you, Anna. Ganz kurz zu mir noch. Ich bin der Ferdi. Ich bin einer von den Trainern bei Munich MMA. Im echten Leben bin ich Scrum Master. Wie schon gesagt, meine Muay Thai-Erfahrung, die hat in meinen Amateurkämpfen dazu gereicht, um in den Clinch zu kommen. Mehr weiß ich aber auch nicht. Deswegen fange ich auch direkt mit den Fragen an die Anna an, und die werden in Englisch sein, nur damit ich darauf einstellen könnt. So Anna, let's start with the general basics. I asked this in the Jiu-Jitsu episode as well. Do you have to be a certain level of fitness to start with Muay Thai? What do you think?
I don't think so. I think if you're starting in a beginner class, like, most trainers understand that everyone's coming in at a different level. Like, even in Thailand, like, it was all different ages, all different levels that would start, and a lot of people wait too long to start Muay Thai. They say, any, like, fight sport, they say they need to get fit first, but you might as well get in shape whilst learning a new sport. It's going to be a lot more fun than just going to, like, the fitness studio. And if someone's a good trainer, then they understand there's different fitness levels. They're not expecting you to come in like a machine already. So yeah, I don't think you need to wait to get fit.
I also, from what I see when you train Muay Thai, there's a lot more conditioning involved than what we do in Jiu-Jitsu. We're way more lazy when it comes to that. just the warm-ups are way more conditioning intensive, I feel like.
So you've kind of got the old school ways are a lot more like cemented. So in Thailand, there's the rule, no running, no fight. So if you didn't run, you didn't get a fight. So every morning, first thing in the morning, you go running, and then you do your class, maybe do some sparring, do some pad work. And then at the end of each class, you had to do 100 push-ups, 200 abs, which I guess I don't think it was actually that useful, but it's just kind of the whole, I feel like every Muay Thai fight is just learned through repetition, and you just do things over and over again until eventually you can hopefully do it very well. But then I think in Europe it is quite different. I think things have changed, like, say fighters like Liam Harris, and I was listening to them, they might only go running once a week now, whereas they used to do the old school Muay Thai style. So it is changing. It's getting more modern, like using like strength and conditioning and more like using explosiveness rather than just continuous over cardio. Because I can tell you from personal experience it doesn't work, because I too much cardio and I was making weight too much, and I ended up breaking my arm because it was too much. It was too much for me. So I definitely think the more modern approach is but yeah, you still have to work hard. Obviously, you need a good, like, eventually you'll get a good, like, cardio on you if you just keep training.
And what do you say? You just touched upon it. There's a difference between European and Thai training, and let's just get into that one first, because you've experienced both, right? You experienced European methods and you experienced Thai methods. So are there any like, big differences? Obviously, I think, but Tell me about that.
I mean, obviously in Thailand, I didn't have to do anything else. You just wake up and you run, depending what gym. I'd normally do about 7 in the morning, 7 kilometers, and then you go to class, do some technique, do some pad work, some clinching, and then finish off with the abs and the push-ups and stuff. Go get some food, have a nap, and then you come back in the afternoon again, the same again, you run, and then more pad work, more sparring, and then maybe more running. That was for me personally. And then obviously Europe is different because one, normally have to work and you can't just, you're not expected to train for like 5 to 6 hours a day. And you're mixing with different kind of trainers as well, not just kind of the old school methods. So yeah, and obviously it kind of centers more around working around like more of a normal lifestyle rather than that's just what you do all day, every day. But so it's smaller hours, but I think as well, I think that's just as effective because you want to get that work in.
So if you're a complete beginner and you're interested in starting Muay Thai, what would you tell a person like that? What's the best way to start training? Like obviously just show up to a gym, but what can you do?
Definitely watch a lot of stuff. Sometimes it's hard to, you need to know what, like a lot, I don't know, maybe look around YouTube or, you know, there's loads of like channels online, like lots of fight libraries and stuff, and just look at people like who are fighting and what they do in certain situations in fights. You can even, there's so much stuff online, like a fighter's day in a life and all that, kind of look at like the original, say, especially like Muay Thai golden era in the 90s, like all the stuff then, because that was quite interesting. You had like, it was like one, you had a lot of foreigners starting to come through as well. So I don't know, I think just look around, just like look online. I mean, we have so much more access to things now, and just keep going. Hopefully you have good people around you, good training partners who are also like beginners, and just don't worry so much about being uncomfortable and like what other people are doing or anything, and just keep turning up and try and educate yourself as well at the same time.
How, like you said, you're training like every day, 6 hours a day, a week when you were in Thailand. Obviously, if you start out, that's not feasible for most people here, right? No. Is there a baseline for how often people should come and train if they want to see results? As a beginner.
I think just as long as you're turning up at least a couple of times a week, it doesn't need to be obsessive, because I just think can just end up to burning out and then you just end up hating it. So I think you want to be turning up a couple of times a week. I think for me personally, it's just like to establish a routine. Like on this day, I'm going to go to the Muay Thai class on this day. I mean, and just keep at it. There's always going to be plateaus where you feel like you're not improving at all. And then there's going to be weeks where you just feel like, oh, like this is actually starting to pay off. So it doesn't need to be obsessive. Like it's quite easy to fall into that, especially online. You see everyone's training, hard, but in reality, like a lot of those people, it's not true. So don't feel like you need to compare yourself to other people, and just keep, it can be twice a week, it can be 5 times a week, whatever, like just keep consistent. And as long as you feel like you're still enjoying it, you're not burning out, I think that's the best way, definitely.
Nice. One of the things that for me, as someone who mainly does jiu-jitsu and has done MMA when I was younger, I've decided, nope, I don't like it. I don't like getting punched in the face. What kept me at jiu-jitsu is the fact that I can roll every class, right?
Yeah.
I assume that's not the case in Muay Thai, that you spar after every class. Talk to me about how are your classes actually structured? So what are you doing? Is it because, like, I know we have sparring classes,
Yeah,
where it's like, okay, these are obvious classes where people show up to spar.
yeah.
But how are classes structured in general? What can people expect when they show up to a Muay Thai class at Munich MMA?
Mostly, I think, obviously you start with a warm-up. Then you're going to start with some like drills, some technique. And depending who's holding the class, is going to be different for each class. So I do the ladies class, so I tend to like normally less with sparring and stuff. So like doing the drills and stuff and seeing if it's like effective and stuff. And yeah, I think doing the drills most of the time is a good, rather than hitting pads, is a good way to kind of do it on another person rather than just hit pads and stuff. You need to get that distance, because that's something that you learn over time, is your distance with people and stuff, how to go in, how long your punches are, how much you need to go in when you're going to kick someone and stuff like that. So normally I'd say, yeah, warm up, technique, and then, yeah, just drilling and stuff, and maybe like a finisher. But yeah, the sparring is not so, it's not every class. I mean, it depends which gym as well. I mean, you have other gyms where every day is just sparring, but like this, the problem I found is in Europe, if you spar every day, people are coming, you know, it's after work and they just kind of want to let their aggression out, and just wasn't the best. Whereas in Thailand, we did spar and clinch every day, but we're all didn't want to get injured. We're all fighting and we're all there for the same reason. So we would just do very technical, very playful sparring and stuff. Whereas sometimes, personal experience, I found that that's not always a given when you're, I don't know, because some people just, hit in the gym after work and just want to go a bit. I'm not sure if that makes sense. But yeah, so I don't know. Every class, I think Munich MMA is good because I feel like every class is a bit different. I feel like I can't completely say how every class is, because I feel like it's different. So like I know that like sometimes it might just be clinch, or sometimes it might just be drilling, or maybe more pad work. I feel like it's always quite different at Munich MMA, which I think's a really good thing.
Like the part where you said like people show up after work and then just go hard as fuck in training.
Yeah.
I can see how that is actually a big problem, right? That's not a healthy attitude.
No.
Like, if they want to go hard, just show up to a grappling class, because then you can just power yourself out, and then hopefully you've blown off some steam.
Yeah.
Or hit the weight room. That also helps.
Definitely.
But that is a good transition to another question I want to ask. How you manage intensity for training? Because like obviously if I kick a pad 1,000 times, at some point that is still gonna hurt the pad holder. Or if I just throw him from a clinch a bunch of times, that also is annoying. Or if I just leg kick him in full force every single time. So what would you tell someone? How should they manage their intensity when they're training?
In regards to in which situations?
Pretty much the entire gamut of situations that could come up.
Yeah.
So from sparring down to pad work, down to technical work. Yeah.
I think it's kind of not prioritizing things, but like, I think obviously it's one to like recognize kind of what your gym, what the general classes are like. After a while, you'll know like, okay, this class will say like Tuesday at Munich MMA is always, it's pretty much just sparring. There's no one on Friday. So, you know, and then I think with that, you do know the more you come, who you can kind of do a bit harder with. Most of the time, just try and level how they're going with you, you know, see hopefully that they're still having fun it shouldn't be like you just all like hate each other and want to like, yeah. Like it should still be fun. So I think that just comes like person to person. Like some rounds you're going to go harder with someone, and some rounds it's going to be maybe a bit more playful and stuff, depending what level you're at and what level they're at, what intensity they want to go with and stuff. And you can always communicate it with people. You can't just be like, yeah, let's just, you know, can tone it down a bit. Like I know it's not the most fun thing to say, but hopefully someone turning up to like training should understand that as well. It shouldn't just be just all like 100% all the time. And then using the technique to take your time. Like I'm definitely, sometimes if I'm drilling stuff, especially on pads, sometimes I just want to like hit it and it to be perfect strip, but it shouldn't, you don't be scared to kind of take your time, like use that time and stuff. Sometimes it's like, oh, I just want to work and I just want to like make it like the most out of this time, but sometimes it's good just to slow down and try and learn from it, because then in the future that's going to pay off better. I feel like, yeah, it's just depending on the lesson and who your training partners are.
Yeah, like I can see that, like especially part with the training partners. It's the same for grappling, right? Like if I train with someone that's like 10 to 20 kilos lighter than me and hasn't grappled as long as I did, like I obviously have to like tone it down, because it's not fun for me and it's definitely not fun for them. I feel it's probably the same if you can beat up most people like in sparring, right? So it's
always better to do with the like more experienced people, especially when you first the first gym I was at actually was in Leeds. It was ran by it was called Tiger's Gym. Actually, it's quite funny because I know it's Tiger Muay Thai, but it was Gary and Michelle Sutcliffe that ran it, and she was actually more in charge. She actually fought in Thailand as well, like back in the 90s, so she's like one of the first people, and she let me spar like anyone apart from beginner, normally teenage boys. She was just like, no, like it's just gonna end up like someone's gonna get injured or someone's gonna like kind of thing. But apart from that, like it like the people who are real big and you might be more intimidated by, who've got like fights and stuff, like look really in shape, they're normally gonna be more controlled because they've got more experience and stuff, and they've been there themselves and stuff, and they're not hopefully there just to try and prove a point or like have like an ego about it. Like hopefully like want to help someone else learn and how to do it more controlled rather than just back and just beat the shit like out of someone just because I can. Like hopefully that normally with more experienced people that shouldn't be the case.
Yeah, I can see that. Like there are like similarities between like,
definitely
good, like especially how to be a good partner. That's also something I want to get into. What would you tell someone when they turn up? How can they be a good partner from the start, right? What should they focus on to be a good partner when training?
Listen to the trainer, because sometimes you have it where you turn like, okay, let's do the drill, and then you turn to the partner and they're like, I wasn't listening. You're like, all right, cool, I have to re-explain it to you again. What kind of thing and stuff. And obviously I'm guilty of that. So I have a really short attention span, so like sometimes like, you know, like and sometimes if you're not fully understanding something, but yeah, don't worry about asking questions. I think as well, sometimes I have this, I'm not sure if it's just from like growing up in England, but you just feel like you have to say sorry all the time, apologize for stuff all the time, just because maybe you're not getting something as fast as they are. But like, take your time with it. A good partner should want you to understand it, kind of thing. And so in return, don't get impatient with someone who isn't, you know, getting it as fast as you are, kind of thing. Just try and, you know, if you're drilling, like hold, you know, so like if the boxing is your hands, like don't hold your hands out like 2 meters apart. That's not realistic. You want it to be closer, so it's like someone's head, and try and move with them and still be. And if someone seems quite comfortable, maybe you can do stuff to help each other, you know, like maybe like you can, you know, let them know with a bit of like a pat on the side of the head that their guard's down or something. You don't need to whack them, but you can just, you know, just stuff like that. So it's just kind of always reminding them and stuff, and that's nice. And just little things that you think would be helpful for you to do if you like were drilling with someone, and then hopefully then that like translates, so it's more of like a gym thing rather than one person just doing it. Yeah, just be patient with people and just kind of be happy for someone to be learning something too. And it's like, you're not the only person in the room. Same as well, if there's a trainer explaining something, yeah, be respectful and listen and be respectful for other people there and stuff. Yeah, I think that's a massive thing. It's just, you can't, the best thing about a gym is you can't, you know, we're all there in gym gear, we're all there to train, or like, you know, so you can't judge people as much as you could out on the street, but still, like, don't just assume if someone's a certain size or whatever or gender, they don't know anything, or they're like less than, or they're like really big, so that means they're really good or something. Just, or they got like really nice shorts and really nice shin guards. It doesn't mean anything. Like, you just need to like, yeah, just take someone for how they are, and hopefully if they respect you, you respect them. And should be, yeah, I think that's the main thing, is just respecting and just making the most out of it. Team. Like, be a team. Just, it's, fighting is you're the one person going in to fight, but at the end of the day you need a team to, and you want as well to be training with good people. Yeah, because you want to be training in a Shark Tank. You don't want to be training like, oh, I feel like I can like beat everyone up. You want to feel like you're getting pushed. Like, you want other people to be good to help push yourself, or else, yeah, it's that same, it's like big fish in a small pond, because then you're going to go out and fight somewhere and it's not going to have worked for you.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Speaking of fighting, how does that work in Muay Thai? Because like in Jiu-Jitsu, we just have a tournament, we pay our fee and we step on the mat, and that's not an issue. And it's a tournament where we have to fight like from 1 to, like, I fought 14 times a day. Like, I rolled 14 times a day. Yeah. That's not the case in striking sports in general, and I don't think it should be. So how you go about getting fights, and how does it work? And follow-up question, is it different in Thailand than it is here in Europe?
Yeah, I think there is a difference. So in Germany, like when I first lived in Germany, I did 1 or 2 tournaments, and they're not really my thing. It's very chaotic. It's very like I remember one, I turned up and I'd literally just weighed in, and then they told me to fight straight away. Like, I was like, I want to eat my breakfast. And I'm like warming up in the corner of the ring, like, and that happened another time actually. I turned up and they're like, yeah, you're up now. And I was just like, I'm literally like just got there, like, kind of thing. And it's very, people will tell you, you know, it's just very chaotic, like, and there's lots of strange rules. Like, I was talking about this with someone yesterday, like the men have to be shaven, or I got points deducted because my head guard was moving. It's just very odd. So I mean, but it's good to, I think, definitely do them. It's just not my style. It's very much just getting the points in. Like, I don't like the pace of it. I don't like the chaos so you can end up fighting quite a lot of times, because you can, the same as jiu-jitsu, you pay to be there. So you've got like different kind of, you can just do like sparring ones where you're meant to do like lighter, it's not like full power, and there's like full contact ones and stuff, and you have, depending, maybe like 10 people in your tournament, you fight your way up, so you can end up fighting quite a lot. Interclubs are really good, which I find doesn't happen so much here, but it's really popular in England. So like loads of gyms will just team up together, one gym will host it, and people from different gyms just meet up and spar each other, but like in the ring in front of people, which I think is just like a really good way to build up that like ring experience, and, you know, going through the process. Like, I think it's definitely a good thing. And yeah, eventually, and then hopefully when you're feeling more comfortable and you feel like, then you can hopefully speak to someone at your gym, and if they feel like you're ready, and hopefully they'll like be honest with you whether you should or not, then you can ask, maybe you do want to do professional fighting. And there's just so many different promotions here in Europe as well. So yeah, it just depends as well. Like, talking to, say, like, I've got, say, when I was here, friends who, like, you just need to talk to people and find people message people if you are looking to just keep going with like a professional like fight career. So yeah, that's just like making a lot of contacts and getting in touch with different promoters and promotions and stuff, and just, yeah, it's a very small circle as well, definitely in Muay Thai. So everyone kind of knows someone who knows someone kind of thing. And then in Thailand, it's different. You just start fighting. It's always like a fight that night, and you'll have an opponent. So I started, obviously, I just went there for a holiday. I didn't think I'd fight. Then they asked if I wanted to. So I started, and yeah, you have your first couple of fights, and I think they are a bit easier on you. You'll normally be bigger as a foreigner as well, with a more experienced Thai opponent, usually. And then you'll get an opponent who's like really ridiculous experience and just beats the shit out of you. And you're like, oh, okay, this is like actual, like, this is what, oh, okay. Like you go just like blown to pieces. You're like, oh, okay, so this is what happens. But yeah, and so if you're like sponsored, you're doing it full time. Normally, like, yeah, once or twice a month you're fighting, plus you need the money. And that's quite usual. If you go like obviously like longer than a month without fighting, obviously with COVID it's a different situation, but usually that's considered kind of inactive. And then you've got the local stadiums, so there you wouldn't really make weight. They'll just match you up with someone who's kind of the same, which isn't always very legit. I've fought people a lot bigger, and I've fought people a lot like smaller as well, actually. So, but you just kind of turn up and you just kind of, maybe they'll have 10 fights, maybe they'll have over 100 fights. You don't know. You just kind of have to turn up and like deal with that once you get to it, kind of thing. And it's most of the time it's very chill. You'll just get like a massage with the Thai oil. Maybe you'll shadow box, and then you just go into the ring and just, you spend that first round just like checking, seeing what they're like, collecting some data from your opponent. And then as the fight progresses, then you get more of a, like, get to know your opponent, and then you can start pushing what you want to bring across in the fight, how you want to win. And then you got the bigger promotions. I got to do the King's birthday and the Queen's birthday, which was quite cool. So then that's in Bangkok, and you have to like weigh in. There'll be a planned opponent for me and stuff. So they're quite nice. And also I got the opportunity to go to like really like small areas where my trainers were from, where also I would weigh in, my opponent would already be, we'd like do the deal, like they're all on Facebook, like, yeah, putting bets on it. And there'll be a big side bet on it. Everyone's hyped. It's normally like in a field somewhere and stuff, kind of like a festival and stuff. And then, yeah, you just get stuck in and do the fight. Yeah, so it's a bit, yeah, it's just a bit more, I think more casual as well. I personally I was more intimidated by opponents who fought, say, in England, and they fought every other month, because they're really training for that specific opponent with like whereas I would fight just, one, I need the money, and two, like, just because you need to keep active and fighting. And it was more just fight, 1 day off, come back to the gym, new fight day, okay, 2-3 weeks training, and then just, so it's just like a cycle. So yeah, it is really different, definitely.
Mm-hmm. I'm amazed that people can compete as often as you did in a sport where they get hit in the head. Like,
well, the worst is if you got stitches. I was lucky. I've only actually been cut up once, because then you have to wait. Because then you have to wait for the stitches to get. So then if you had another fight planned, it was like, oh, like it kind of messed things up a bit, because sometimes you'd have more than one fight planned. Like you'd be training for one, but like the bigger fight would be after. And you're just doing this fight to tie you over, or you said yes, or you need the money. And then you'd be like, oh, then you got stitches. You're like, that. Like some people there were crazy as well. Like you'd see people training through such ridiculous injuries and stuff. And it was just like, yeah, it's okay. Like before my arm completely broke, we were still rescheduling the fight because I was going to rematch her. And then so we just were like, it'd be fine. I just trained with like one hand. We're like, it'll fix itself in 2 weeks. It'll be fine. And then it just completely broke. And then we had to cancel everything. And then I was of no use anymore.
Oh.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's all. Yeah, so that's why it's like from before, why the training is like the sparring and stuff is like, you'll see, like I'm sure people have seen online, is a lot more playful and not just, kind of European style where people go a bit more hardcore.
So you got a new project at the gym. It's what's it called? Muay Thai.
Oh, the
Ying?
Muay Ying, yeah.
Muay Ying, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you tell me about that? Because I just followed it on like Instagram. It's like, hey, that seems really cool. And Jay did a good did good work with the promotional video.
Yeah.
So shout out to Jay.
Yeah, I really liked that. It's really cool.
Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, so I noticed that because we have the Jugendtraining at Munich MMA, there was never any girls there. And then I realized if I was also a 14-year-old teenage girl, I also probably wouldn't want to go to that class. So I just figured it'd be a nice space where, and then hopefully like give a bit of confidence after a while to like, you know, maybe in the future mix more in the other class or just stay in that class, it's fine and stuff. And like, yeah, just kind of like a more relaxed and less like kind of, because I think as well, when you've been in the gym so long, you forget how it is and especially as like a younger like girl, like it is a bit of a kind of the stereotype in your head and stuff like that and what people might think. So yeah, I just figured it's kind of a group of people that's kind of untapped when it comes to, you kind of have to be kind of, I don't know, I just can imagine with like 13, 14, you kind of have to really like push yourself to, but you know what, I'm just going to go and do that class where there's like fully grown men and like a real mix of people and stuff like it must be, like, I would be nervous kind of thing. So yeah, so I'm hoping, so at it's going to take a while to grow, I think, but I'm hoping, obviously it's summer holidays now and then September we'll get on it, and I'm hoping to have a little like group of little fighters who can knee really good. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Yeah, nice. I hope it comes across well. Like I hope it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I remember being a 14 to 17-year-old boy, and I wasn't fun to be around.
No, yeah.
especially if you do combat sports.
Yeah.
The testosterone is through the roof. And you're...
Yeah. I took the Jugendtraining session once because Sergio was away fighting, and they were just like, "Why is there a female teaching this class? What's she doing here?" They were really sweet, but I think at first they were just like, "Get out." But no, they were sweet though.
Yeah, so I truly hope the class takes off. Can you tell the listeners when the dates are for the class?
It's always at the Leopoldstrasse gym, and it's Monday at 5 o'clock and Saturday at 1 o'clock. And also on Saturday at 12, I've got the ladies class too. So it's like straight after the ladies class.
Cool. Okay, this will come out of left field, but still I don't have, like I said, I don't have much knowledge about Muay Thai.
Okay.
Do you have like any can you give us a short history lesson basically? Because we have this creation myth, let's call it that, of jiu-jitsu, and we have the creation myth of judo and all that. And personally, I'm always interested in like creation myths of martial arts. So this is like out of personal interest, basically. So the creation myth of Muay Thai. Can you tell me something about that?
I am really bad with this sort of stuff. But as far as I know, it came from war, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say against Burma. But yeah, just a way to protect themselves, ties to protect themselves during war. And they were like, the 8 limbs, so you're using your elbows and you're using your knees. You've got the Muay Baran, which is really I think I'm not sure if people have seen it, but you do all the cool stuff where you like jump on someone's knee and you like elbow them like at the top of the head, the very traditional stuff. Like, that's where a lot of people learn their like Y crew, you know, before the fight to show respect to your trainers and stuff. So I'm really bad with this sort of stuff, but that's as far as I'm aware, like where it came from.
So, what we can take from that, you don't have to know the history to be good at the sport.
That's quite bad. I should learn.
Let's package it that way.
Yeah.
Another thing, like you might like shortly alluded towards mixed classes and gender in that regard.
Yeah.
Is there anything more you'd like to tell the listeners there? Like, if you train with a woman or if a woman trains with a man, is there something that they should look out for?
I think it's like similar to jiu-jitsu, like kind of, you can kind of tell, like, you can do some like drilling with them and stuff, and I don't know why, but like some guys just aren't very comfortable or want to train with them. I mean, it happens a lot where I'll be looking for a partner for sparring and stuff, and I'm pretty much like, it's getting better, but like you kind of get pretty much ignored. They don't want to. I don't know why it is, kind of thing. Like if they think you're crap, or they just like feel. I mean, I guess like men have had it. I'm not excusing it. Had it drummed into their head for so long that you shouldn't hit a woman. But at the end of the day, like they're to be in a lesson, to take part. It's not like they haven't chosen to be there, like they want to do it, and I'm sure they will tell you if you're going too hard and stuff. And like, just same as if it was a small guy or a younger person who's a bit smaller, like just take the weight into and the level into, and whatever kind of level they're going at with you, just check it off, and just kind of, it doesn't, you can spend the first couple of seconds just seeing how it is, seeing how the vibe is and stuff. And as well, like, don't need like to be patronized as well during sparring. I get that a lot, where it's like, "Ooh, well done," and it's like, okay, or I don't need to be taught by someone as well, like someone lecturing me on like what to do, because most times if you're going to do that, I'm just going to go out of my way to do what you told me not to do more, because I can get like that, like I can be a bit of an asshole sometimes. So yeah, I mean, most of the time it's fine, but it's just, there's the odd times where you just think it's fine. Like, I don't know. I just feel like when you're at training, it's not about a gender. Like, everyone's chosen to be there, and you're all just each other's training partners. Like, it should be that simple, but unfortunately, it's not that way, kind of thing. But yeah, like they're there. They want to be there. They know what the class entails. They're not like shocked that we have to spar. They're not shocked that there's going to be hitting or anything. And just, same as jiu-jitsu, take the weight, take the level into mind, and just be a bit playful. And it's meant to be fun. It's not like, I don't know. And just because it's a woman doesn't mean she has to be worse than you. They can, they might be more experienced than you. They might be like, it's like, so it just seems shocking that to some, that a woman can learn a skill and then do it in real time. I don't know why. Like, I don't know why it's shocking, but apparently it is. Yeah. So yeah, it's just a person. Like, that's all you need to know. It's just a person. Nothing more.
On a more lighthearted note, in jiu-jitsu, we often get people that come with some sort of experience in different martial arts, and there's usually a bit of ego involved. It's like, yeah, I know how to do that. You don't. Not really. Do you get the same with Muay Thai? It's like, oh, I've trained for 10 years in Mantis Kung Fu, and
yeah, it's most people I say that maybe they've done like kickboxing before or some sort of karate, but they understand it's like most of the time that it's a different, because it is a different sport. Like the posture's different. Like you got the clinch game involved, which is like a whole thing, a whole world in itself kind of thing. So most people, but yeah, you do get that where people like, well, I already know kind of thing. And I feel like sometimes you can't keep telling, like you can kind of, keep reminding them and stuff, but eventually there'll come a situation where hopefully they'll realize like, you know what, no, I need to kind of accept that maybe I don't know everything and this style doesn't fit this sport and stuff. Like it's always cool to have if you come from a different background, to have a unique style. I think that's always good. It's always frustrating sparring someone who has like a really odd style kind of thing, because you can't like time things the right way. Maybe the way they move is really odd, so it's kind of a good thing for them, but still be open to learning and like adapting to like Muay Thai as well. Just don't be too stubborn, because if people be like that, then you might as well just stay with what you were doing previously. Like what's the point of coming to and like to learn Muay Thai if you're just stubborn that you already know everything? Yeah.
I like right now you mentioned the clinch game as something that is just unique to Muay Thai, and in regards to other striking arts, I want to basically hang on to that and like ask specifically about terminology, because we in jiu-jitsu we have like a supremely loose terminology. Like we have an arm bar, and if you ask the Japanese one, it's a Jujigatama arm bar, and then like the Japanese are way more precise when it comes to what exactly a thing is. And then the jiu-jitsu people, that's an arm bar from XYZ position. And that's also an arm bar from XYZ position. And then it's like, okay. So like, I can see that there can be frustrating parts. And is it different when you like especially with European influence, right? I assume that like techniques in Muay Thai have names in Thai, right? So if we now then train in Europe, do you call it jab a jab, or do you call it something different? Or you?
It's interesting because it all kind of gets mixed up, because then you'll go to Thailand and they're like 1, 2 or jab kind of thing. But obviously when they're like training with each other, then they just say it in Thai. Okay. But yeah, most of it's in English, which is kind of a shame. And then when you go over to Thailand, they'll normally like say most. But when it comes to clinching and stuff, and like when a fight's actually happening, then it gets more Thai, like kind of thing. Say like, I always like to, because I love knees and I love clinching. Always the name for a knee is tang, which actually means to like stab. So like you're like stabbing someone with your knee, and you'll always hear it like if you're watching a Muay Thai fight in Thailand, all you'll hear is them just like, if people clinch up and just screaming, just like tang like that. Like it's good. Like when they get more passionate, but it's a shame that it's not more used in. It has like everything. It's just kind of everything's got more global and stuff, which is a good thing and a bad thing. Like kind of thing makes it a bit because I think sometimes when things get too like all needs to stay exactly how it is and old school and stuff, then it can kind of feel like the sport's being gatekeeped. So that's not nice, because you want people to feel like they can join in and understand and like be new to a sport, rather than feel like, oh, you don't know all the terminology, so you can't, like, you know what I mean? Like like people get self-conscious, they don't know how to wrap their hands. It's like, it's cool, like everyone needs to learn how to. You shouldn't make it feel like you need to know everything beforehand.
You have to be allowed to be a beginner, otherwise it doesn't make any sense. Okay, cool. Do you have any closing thoughts, arguments, rousing speeches that you'd want to end this with?
In regards to like beginning Muay Thai, like starting out?
Yeah, I'd say beginning Muay Thai because like this is for beginning Muay Thai. I'll be sure that we'll add other Muay Thai episodes to the podcast.
Like just don't be self-conscious. If you feel like people are like looking at you or anything, like that's more their problem than it is yours. If someone has time to look at you and judge you at the gym, then they're in the wrong place, they're in the wrong sport kind of thing, and they should concentrate on what they're doing. And like we said before, you don't need to wait for it to be a specific fitness level or look a certain way or anything like that. Like gyms want people to come in, all levels, like all sorts of people, like you don't need to be a strong guy, like all sorts of people. And yeah, if you feel like you want to do it and it makes you happy, like I don't think you need to worry about what other people are doing, and don't compare yourself like before. Like there are some people who just naturally have an ability. I definitely wasn't one of those people. I hated clinch, and then I turned into a clinch fighter when I was in Thailand, but it's definitely not a natural thing that came to me. It was just being forced to do it every day. And then eventually it paid off kind of thing. So yeah, like some people will be moving faster, some people move slower, and just have respect for people you're training with, and like try and help each other out. Like I think it's just just try and just make sure you're enjoying it. Don't feel like you're forcing yourself to go, like dragging yourself through training, and don't burn yourself out. I think it's quite easy with Muay Thai to end up burning yourself out sometimes. So yeah, it's kind of drummed in with the sport sometimes, but it's not the best way, trust me.
Well, I'm gonna shamelessly plug our YouTube channel, because like you mentioned resources, and we have some resources on the Munich MMA YouTube channel. Check those out. If you want to hear more about Muay Thai, if you want to hear more from Anna, then please comment on this episode, let us know what you think, and please join us next time on the Munich MMA podcast. Thank you.